Admiral Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched the stars shift as his ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Through the main view screen, Kepler Station grew larger with each passing moment. The massive structure hung in space like a silver flower, its rotating sections gleaming under the light of the system's twin suns. "Beautiful sight, sir," said Lieutenant Kyung-hoon from the communications station. The young officer had never seen one of the joint human-Rilani colonies before. His eyes were wide as he took in the sight of the enormous space station. Hyun-woo nodded slowly. 3 months ago, this view would have been impossible. 3 months ago, humanity had been alone in the galaxy, struggling to build their first settlements beyond Earth's solar system. Now they were members of the Galactic Council, with allies and friends among the stars, all because of the Rilani. "Admiral, we're receiving a welcome transmission from Captain So Young," Kyung-hoon reported. "She's requesting permission to come aboard once we dock." "Grant it," Hyun-woo said. "And send our respects to Elder Nalthara. Tell her I look forward to our meeting." The Indomitable moved slowly toward the docking bay. Hyun-woo had commanded Earth's ships for 20 years, but he still felt amazed when he saw what humans and Rilani could build together. Kepler Station was home to over 80,000 Rilani and 12,000 humans. They lived and worked, side by side, sharing knowledge and building something beautiful. Dr. Tae-min joined Hyun-woo at the view screen. The xenobiologist carried a data pad filled with his latest research. "The agricultural reports are incredible, Admiral. The Rilani biotechnology combined with human engineering techniques has increased crop yields by 300%. We're feeding twice as many people with half the resources." "And the other colonies?" Hyun-woo asked. "All 12 are showing similar results," Tae-min replied with excitement in his voice. "The Rilani have been sharing their secrets freely. Their understanding of biological systems is beyond anything we imagined. They can grow food in environments that would kill Earth plants. And in return, our manufacturing techniques have helped them build better homes and tools." Hyun-woo smiled. The partnership between humans and Rilani had surprised everyone, including themselves. When humanity's first exploration ships had encountered the Rilani 5 years ago, both species had been cautious. The Rilani were peaceful herbivores who had never fought a war in their recorded history. They settled conflicts through meditation and long discussions until everyone agreed. Humans, with their history of violence and competition, should have frightened the Rilani. Instead, the tall, graceful aliens had seen something else in humanity. They saw protectors. They saw a species willing to fight for those who could not fight for themselves. Elder Nalthara had been the first Rilani to suggest that humans might make good members of the Galactic Council. "They have strong hearts," she had told the council delegates. "Yes, they know war, but they also know when not to fight. They could bring balance to our galaxy." The docking bay doors opened, and the Indomitable slid smoothly inside. Through the transparent aluminum windows, Hyun-woo could see Rilani and human workers moving around the bay. The Rilani were easy to spot, with their tall, thin bodies and skin that changed colors with their emotions. Right now, most of them showed the soft blue glow that meant happiness and welcome. Captain So Young was waiting when Hyun-woo stepped off his ship. She was a small woman with strong hands and bright eyes. She had been one of the first humans to volunteer for the Joint Colony Program. Now she ran the day-to-day operations of Kepler Station with the help of her Rilani partner. Sub-Elder Cathron, Admiral, welcome to Kepler Station, So Young said with a wide smile. I hope you're ready for the full tour. We have a lot to show you. I'm looking forward to it, Captain, Hyun-woo replied. How are things going here? Better than we ever hoped, So Young said as they walked through the corridors. The Rilani are amazing teachers, and they seem to enjoy learning from us too. Yesterday, Engineer Dalvin asked me to explain how our fusion reactors work. He thinks he can improve the efficiency by 20% using Rilani bio-neural networks. They pass through a large common area where humans and Rilani sat together, sharing meals and conversation. Rilani children played with human children, their laughter mixing together in a sound that made Hyun-woo's heart warm. The Rilani children glowed with soft rainbow colors when they were happy. The families have adapted well, So Young continued. We've had 37 marriages between humans and Rilani in the past year. The children are incredible. They seem to inherit the best traits from both species. Dr. Tae-min looked up from his datapad. The genetic compatibility was unexpected. We're still studying how it's possible, but the results speak for themselves. The hybrid children are stronger, smarter, and more emotionally stable than either parent species alone. They entered the agricultural section, and Hyun-woo stopped in amazement. Enormous transparent domes stretched out before them, filled with plants he had never seen before. Some looked like earth vegetables, but grew in spiraling towers that reached toward the ceiling. Others resembled Rilani food plants, but with thick, sturdy stems that could only come from human engineering. This is where the real magic happens, So Young said proudly. The Rilani taught us how to make plants that can grow in almost any environment. We taught them how to make those plants produce more food. Together, we've created something neither species could have managed alone. A tall Rilani approached them, his skin shifting from green to the warm yellow that indicated respect and friendship. Admiral Hyun-woo, he said, in accented but clear English. I am Agricultural Supervisor Velthon. Captain So Young has told us much about your visit. The pleasure is mine, Hyun-woo replied. Your people have been generous beyond words. Velthon's skin showed pleased pink highlights. Generosity is sharing with strangers. You are not strangers anymore. You are family. The tour continued through the manufacturing sections, where human and Rilani engineers worked together on projects that seemed impossible. Rilani biotechnology could grow tools and machines like plants. Human precision manufacturing could build components smaller than a hair and stronger than steel. Together, they were creating wonders. The council delegates are arriving tomorrow, So Young mentioned as they walked. Elder Nalthara is excited to show them what we've accomplished here. Any word on the vote? Hyun-woo asked carefully. So Young's expression became more serious. The Rilani delegation is confident. They've been lobbying hard for humanity's full membership. But there's been some resistance. From who? The Korthak Empire thinks we're too aggressive, So Young said. They keep bringing up humanity's history of wars. The Zentari Consortium is worried about economic competition. They don't like how quickly our joint colonies are becoming profitable. Dr. Taman frowned. That seems short-sighted. Our success benefits everyone. Not everyone sees it that way, So Young replied. Some species have profited from the old ways of doing things. Change makes them nervous. They reached the observation deck where Elder Nalthara was waiting. The Rilani leader was ancient by human standards, over 200 years old, but she moved with grace and dignity. Her skin showed the deep blue of wisdom and the gold highlights of leadership. Admiral Hyunwoo, she said in her musical voice, welcome to our shared home. Hyunwoo bowed respectfully. Elder, it's an honor. Thank you for everything your people have done for humanity. Nalthara's skin shifted to warm purple, the color of affection. We have done nothing but follow our hearts. Your species has such potential. Yes, you have known war, but you have also known sacrifice. You protect those who cannot protect themselves. The galaxy needs that strength. Through the observation windows, they could see the planet below. New settlements dotted the surface, each one a mixture of human and Rilani architecture. Gardens and factories stood side by side. It was a vision of what the galaxy could become. Tomorrow's vote will determine humanity's future in the Council, Nalthara said softly. I believe it will pass. But even if it does not, our friendship will remain. Some bonds are stronger than politics. Hyunwoo felt a chill that had nothing to do with the space station's climate control. Something in the elder's tone suggested she knew more than she was saying. But before he could ask, the moment passed. Come, Nalthara said with returning warmth. Let us feast together tonight. Tomorrow we will face whatever comes. But tonight, we celebrate what we have built. As they walked toward the dining halls, Hyunwoo looked back at the planet below. Somewhere out there, forces were moving that would test everything they had built together. But for now, in this moment, humans and Rilani worked side by side toward a better future. He had no idea how precious these peaceful days would prove to be. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched the stars shift as his ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Through the main view screen, Kepler Station grew larger with each passing moment. The massive structure hung in space like a silver flower, its rotating sections gleaming under the light of the system's twin suns. Beautiful sight, sir, said Lieutenant Kyung-hoon from the communications station. The young officer had never seen one of the joint human-Rilani colonies before. His eyes were wide as he took in the sight of the enormous space station. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. 3 months ago, this view would have been impossible. 3 months ago, humanity had been alone in the galaxy, struggling to build their first settlements beyond Earth's solar system. Now they were members of the Galactic Council, with allies and friends among the stars, all because of the Rilani. Admiral, we're receiving a welcome transmission from Captain So Young, Kyung-hoon reported. She's requesting permission to come aboard once we dock. Grant it, Hyunwoo said. And send our respects to Elder Nalthara. Tell her I look forward to our meeting." The Indomitable moved slowly toward the docking bay. Hyun-woo had commanded Earth's ships for 20 years, but he still felt amazed when he saw what humans and Rilani could build together. Kepler Station was home to over 80,000 Rilani and 12,000 humans. They lived and worked, side by side, sharing knowledge and building something beautiful. Dr. Tae-min joined Hyun-woo at the view screen. The xenobiologist carried a data pad filled with his latest research. "The agricultural reports are incredible, Admiral. The Rilani biotechnology combined with human engineering techniques has increased crop yields by 300%. We're feeding twice as many people with half the resources." "And the other colonies?" Hyun-woo asked. "All 12 are showing similar results," Tae-min replied with excitement in his voice. "The Rilani have been sharing their secrets freely. Their understanding of biological systems is beyond anything we imagined. They can grow food in environments that would kill Earth plants. And in return, our manufacturing techniques have helped them build better homes and tools." Hyun-woo smiled. The partnership between humans and Rilani had surprised everyone, including themselves. When humanity's first exploration ships had encountered the Rilani 5 years ago, both species had been cautious. The Rilani were peaceful herbivores who had never fought a war in their recorded history. They settled conflicts through meditation and long discussions until everyone agreed. Humans, with their history of violence and competition, should have frightened the Rilani. Instead, the tall, graceful aliens had seen something else in humanity. They saw protectors. They saw a species willing to fight for those who could not fight for themselves. Elder Nalthara had been the first Rilani to suggest that humans might make good members of the Galactic Council. "They have strong hearts," she had told the council delegates. "Yes, they know war, but they also know when not to fight. They could bring balance to our galaxy." The docking bay doors opened, and the Indomitable slid smoothly inside. Through the transparent aluminum windows, Hyun-woo could see Rilani and human workers moving around the bay. The Rilani were easy to spot, with their tall, thin bodies and skin that changed colors with their emotions. Right now, most of them showed the soft blue glow that meant happiness and welcome. Captain So Young was waiting when Hyun-woo stepped off his ship. She was a small woman with strong hands and bright eyes. She had been one of the first humans to volunteer for the Joint Colony Program. Now she ran the day-to-day operations of Kepler Station with the help of her Rilani partner. "Sub-Elder Cathron, Admiral, welcome to Kepler Station," So Young said with a wide smile. "I hope you're ready for the full tour. We have a lot to show you." "I'm looking forward to it, Captain," Hyun-woo replied. "How are things going here?" "Better than we ever hoped," So Young said as they walked through the corridors. "The Rilani are amazing teachers, and they seem to enjoy learning from us too. Yesterday, Engineer Dalvin asked me to explain how our fusion reactors work. He thinks he can improve the efficiency by 20% using Rilani bio-neural networks. They pass through a large common area where humans and Rilani sat together, sharing meals and conversation. Rilani children played with human children, their laughter mixing together in a sound that made Hyun-woo's heart warm. The Rilani children glowed with soft rainbow colors when they were happy. The families have adapted well, So Young continued. We've had 37 marriages between humans and Rilani in the past year. The children are incredible. They seem to inherit the best traits from both species. Dr. Taemin looked up from his datapad. The genetic compatibility was unexpected. We're still studying how it's possible, but the results speak for themselves. The hybrid children are stronger, smarter, and more emotionally stable than either parent species alone. They entered the agricultural section, and Hyunwoo stopped in amazement. Enormous transparent domes stretched out before them, filled with plants he had never seen before. Some looked like earth vegetables, but grew in spiraling towers that reached toward the ceiling. Others resembled Rilani food plants, but with thick, sturdy stems that could only come from human engineering. This is where the real magic happens, So Young said proudly. The Rilani taught us how to make plants that can grow in almost any environment. We taught them how to make those plants produce more food. Together, we've created something neither species could have managed alone. A tall Rilani approached them, his skin shifting from green to the warm yellow that indicated respect and friendship. Admiral Hyun-woo, he said, in accented but clear English. I am Agricultural Supervisor Velthon. Captain So Young has told us much about your visit. The pleasure is mine, Hyun-woo replied. Your people have been generous beyond words. Velthon's skin showed pleased pink highlights. Generosity is sharing with strangers. You are not strangers anymore. You are family. The tour continued through the manufacturing sections, where human and Rilani engineers worked together on projects that seemed impossible. Rilani biotechnology could grow tools and machines like plants. Human precision manufacturing could build components smaller than a hair and stronger than steel. Together, they were creating wonders. The council delegates are arriving tomorrow, So Young mentioned as they walked. Elder Nalthara is excited to show them what we've accomplished here. Any word on the vote? Hyun-woo asked carefully. So Young's expression became more serious. The Rilani delegation is confident. They've been lobbying hard for humanity's full membership. But there's been some resistance. From who? The Korthak Empire thinks we're too aggressive, So Young said. They keep bringing up humanity's history of wars. The Zentari Consortium is worried about economic competition. They don't like how quickly our joint colonies are becoming profitable. Dr. Taemin frowned. That seems short-sighted. Our success benefits everyone. Not everyone sees it that way, So Young replied. Some species have profited from the old ways of doing things. Change makes them nervous. They reached the observation deck where Elder Nalthara was waiting. The Rilani leader was ancient by human standards, over 200 years old, but she moved with grace and dignity. Her skin showed the deep blue of wisdom and the gold highlights of leadership. Admiral Hyun-woo, she said in her musical voice, welcome to our shared home. Hyun-woo bowed respectfully. Elder, it's an honor. Thank you for everything your people have done for humanity. Nalthara's skin shifted to warm purple, the color of affection. We have done nothing but follow our hearts. Your species has such potential. Yes, you have known war, but you have also known sacrifice. You protect those who cannot protect themselves. The galaxy needs that strength. Through the observation windows, they could see the planet below. New settlements dotted the surface, each one a mixture of human and Rilani architecture. Gardens and factories stood side by side. It was a vision of what the galaxy could become. Tomorrow's vote will determine humanity's future in the Council, Nalthara said softly. I believe it will pass. But even if it does not, our friendship will remain. Some bonds are stronger than politics. Yunwu felt a chill that had nothing to do with the space station's climate control. Something in the elder's tone suggested she knew more than she was saying. But before he could ask, the moment passed. Come, Nalthara said with returning warmth. Let us feast together tonight. Tomorrow we will face whatever comes. But tonight, we celebrate what we have built. As they walked toward the dining halls, Hyunwoo looked back at the planet below. Somewhere out there, forces were moving that would test everything they had built together. But for now, in this moment, humans and Rilani worked side by side toward a better future. He had no idea how precious these peaceful days would prove to be. Captain So Young stood in the main docking bay of Kepler Station and watched the Council security fleet approach. 12 massive warships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with weapon arrays and shield generators. She had never seen so much firepower in one place. They're requesting permission to dock, reported Communications Officer Lee from the control booth. Admiral Korthmal says this is a routine inspection under Council Security Protocol 7. So Young frowned. Protocol 7 was for hostile situations, not peaceful inspections. But refusing to cooperate would only make things worse for humanity's case before the Council. Grant permission, she said reluctantly. But keep our own security teams ready. Something feels wrong about this. Elder Nalthara approached from the main corridor, her skin showing the gray patterns of deep concern. Behind her walked Sub-Elder Kethron and a group of younger Rilani who helped manage the station's daily operations. Captain So Young, Nalthara said in her musical voice. My people are frightened. The children ask why so many warships have come to visit us. I wish I knew, So Young replied honestly. Admiral Korthmal claims it's just an inspection, but those ships carry enough weapons to destroy a small planet. The lead Korthak vessel, a massive dreadnought called Bone Crusher, moved slowly toward the main docking port. Its hull was covered in battle scars from old conflicts. Gun turrets tracked across the station's surface as if searching for targets. Maybe we should move the families to the intersections, suggested Chief Engineer Dalvin. The elderly Rilani had worked on Kepler Station since its construction. His skin showed the deep blue of wisdom mixed with yellow streaks of worry. Good idea, So Young agreed. But do it quietly. We don't want to look like we're preparing for trouble. Through the docking bay windows, they could see Korthak soldiers in heavy combat armor boarding the station. These were not normal inspection teams. These were warriors prepared for battle. Admiral Korthmal led the group, his massive frame making the corridors seem smaller. His small black eyes swept over everything as if memorizing the layout. Behind him came 20 soldiers carrying weapons that seemed far too large for a peaceful inspection. "Welcome to Kepler Station," So Young said formally. "I'm Captain So Young, Station Commander. This is Elder Nalthara, leader of our Rilani community." Korthmal barely glanced at the Rilani leader, his attention focused entirely on So Young. "Captain, we are here to conduct a security inspection under Council authority. You will provide access to all areas of this station." "Of course," So Young replied. "Our facilities are always open to Council representatives. Where would you like to begin?" "The weapons storage areas," Korthmal said immediately. "We have reports of illegal military equipment." So Young felt her heart skip. Kepler Station had minimal defensive weapons, just enough to protect against pirates or accidents. "We can show you our security office and the small arms locker, but this is a civilian station, Admiral. We have no military weapons." Korthmal's expression did not change. "We will determine what constitutes illegal weapons." They moved through the station corridors with growing tension. Korthak soldiers spread out in all directions, their heavy boots echoing on the metal floors. Rilani families pressed against the walls to let them pass, their skin showing frightened purple and gray patterns. The inspection began in the security office, where So Young showed them the station's small collection of emergency weapons. Korthmal examined each item carefully as if hoping to find something suspicious. "These pulse rifles exceed standard civilian specifications," he declared, pointing to weapons that were clearly marked as standard Earth security equipment. "Those are normal security weapons," So Young protested. "Every human station carries them for protection against pirates. Weapons capable of penetrating Korthak armor," Korthmal replied coldly. "Clearly designed for military action against Council forces." Elder Nalthara stepped forward, her skin flashing the silver of formal testimony. "Admiral, these weapons have never been used against any Council species. They are purely defensive. The Rilani are not qualified to determine military threats," Korthmal said dismissively. "Stand aside." The insult caused Nalthara's skin to flash angry red, but she remained calm. So Young felt her own anger rising. The Korthak commander was deliberately trying to provoke them. The inspection continued through the manufacturing sections, where Korthak soldiers examined the tools and equipment used to build station components. Admiral Korthmal claimed that industrial fabricators could be used to produce weapons even though they were clearly designed for peaceful construction. "This facility could produce missile components," he declared, pointing to a machine that made pipe fittings. "It makes plumbing supplies," Chief Engineer Dalvin said in confusion, "for water systems and waste management. Tubes that could carry explosives," Korthmal replied. "Evidence of weapons manufacturing capability." So Young realized what was happening. The Korthak were not conducting a real inspection. They were building a case for something much worse. Every peaceful tool was being labeled as a potential weapon. Every defensive measure was being called aggressive preparation. "Admiral," she said carefully, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. This station poses no threat to anyone. We're farmers and engineers, not soldiers." Korthmal turned to face her directly. His small black eyes held no warmth or mercy. Captain, you will remain silent unless asked to speak." The threat in his voice was clear. So Young felt ice in her stomach as she realized how much danger they were all in. The inspection moved to the agricultural domes, where Rilani and human families worked together in the gardens. Children played among the growing plants while their parents tended the crops. It was a scene of perfect peace. "Biological weapons research," Korthmal announced, examining a perfectly normal tomato plant. "Those are food crops," Elder Nalthera said in disbelief. "We grow them to feed our families." "Plants modified with alien genetics," Korthmal replied. "Potential biological warfare agents." Sub-Elder Kethran's skin flashed bright orange with outrage. "Those plants feed thousands of people throughout this system. They have saved lives, not threatened them." "The Rilani are clearly compromised by human influence," Korthmal said to his soldiers. "Their judgment cannot be trusted." Communications. Officer Lee appeared at So Young's side, his face pale with worry. "Captain, I'm receiving urgent messages from Admiral Hyunwoo. His ships are detecting weapons being charged on the Council fleet." So Young felt the world tilt around her. "What kind of weapons?" "Ship-to-ship missiles and orbital bombardment systems," Lee whispered. "They're targeting the station." The truth hit So Young like a physical blow. This was not an inspection. It was preparation for an attack. The Korthak had come to destroy Kepler Station, and they were using the inspection as cover to gather intelligence for their assault. "Admiral Korthmal," she said, struggling to keep her voice steady, "I need to speak with you privately." "No private communications," Korthmal replied. "Continue the inspection." Through the dome's transparent walls, So Young could see Korthak warships moving into attack positions. Their weapon systems glowed with charging energy. In the distance, she spotted the smaller shapes of Admiral Hyunwoo's escort fleet. Hopelessly outnumbered, Elder Nalthara must have seen the same thing. Her skin went completely white with shock before shifting to the deep red of mortal terror. "They mean to attack us," she whispered. "What?" Chief Engineer Dalvin looked up from the plant he was examining. His skin showed confusion as he tried to understand what was happening. Korthmal smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "The inspection is complete. We have found evidence of illegal weapons, biological warfare research, and military preparation in violation of Council law." "That's completely false," So Young protested. "You've seen nothing but peaceful families and farming equipment." "Resistance to Council authority," Korthmal added to his list. "Clearly this facility represents a threat to galactic security." Communications Officer Lee grabbed So Young's arm. "Captain, Admiral Hyunwoo is broadcasting an emergency signal. He's demanding to know what's happening here." Through the agricultural dome's speakers, Admiral Hyunwoo's voice suddenly echoed across the station. "Kepler Station, this is Admiral Hyunwoo aboard the Indomitable. We are detecting weapons-charged signatures from the Council fleet. Please report your status immediately." Korthmal's expression turned deadly. "Cut that transmission." "I can't," Lee replied. "It's coming through on emergency frequencies." "Standard procedure requires—" The Korthak Admiral drew his sidearm and pointed it at Lee's head. "Cut the transmission or die." Elder Nalthara stepped between them, her skin blazing with protective gold patterns. "You will not harm innocents. In my presence." "Step aside, alien," Korthmal growled. "Your species has interfered enough." "This is our home," Nalthara replied with quiet dignity. "We will not step aside while you threaten our friends." Korthmal's finger tightened on the trigger. "Then you will die with them." The sound of the shot echoed through the agricultural dome. Elder Nalthara fell backward, her skin fading from gold to gray as her life left her. Around the dome, Rilani. Children began screaming as they watched their beloved leader die. So Young felt something break inside her chest. President Dayun stood in the emergency meeting room deep beneath Earth's Capitol building. Around the curved table sat the most powerful people in human space. Their faces showed the same mix of grief and rage that burned in her own chest. On the main screen, the final transmission from Kepler Station played again in terrible silence. Captain So Young's voice came through clearly despite the weapons fire in the background. "This is Kepler Station to all human vessels. We are under attack by Council security forces. Elder Nalthara has been murdered. They are targeting civilian transports. The Rilani offered no resistance, but they are being killed anyway. Tell Earth what really happened here." The transmission cut to static. 80,000 Rilani and 12,000 humans had died in the 8 hours that followed. Only 2,000 humans had survived, rescued by Admiral Hyun Woo's desperate fighting. "Retreat! How many times have we watched this?" asked General Won Jin, head of Earth's Strategic Command. His weathered face looked older than his 60 years. "How many times before we accept what it means? It means our friends were murdered by cowards and liars," said Minister of Defense Jae-yoon. Her voice shook with barely controlled fury. "It means the Council declared war on innocent people and called it justice." Dr. Taemin sat at the far end of the table, one of the few survivors from Kepler Station. His left arm was in a medical support brace, and burn scars covered half his face. But his eyes held something more dangerous than his injuries. They held the look of a man who had watched children die for no reason. "They laughed," he said quietly. "When the evacuation ships tried to leave, the Korthak soldiers laughed as they shot them down. Little Rilani children floating in space, and they thought it was funny." President Daun felt something cold settle in her stomach. She had led Earth for 10 years through peace and prosperity. She had never imagined facing a decision like this. "Doctor, please tell us again what you found in the evidence," she said. Taemin activated his personal data pad with his good hand. The charges against humanity were completely fabricated. Every piece of evidence they presented to the Council was fake. The manufacturing signatures don't match our technology. The resource shipping records were altered. Even the surveillance footage was created using computer simulation. "How can you be certain?" asked Admiral Hyun Woo. He had barely slept since returning from Kepler Station. His uniform was wrinkled, and his eyes were red with exhaustion. "Because I helped design the real systems they claim to show," Taemin replied. "The supposed weapons manufacturing facilities use production methods we abandoned 5 years ago. The ship designs in their surveillance footage are from old Earth military plans that were never built. Someone with access to our historical records created fake evidence to justify what they planned to do. General Won Jin leaned forward. So this was always the plan. Accuse us of being a threat, then eliminate us before we could prove our innocence. Not just us, said Colonel Min-Soo from Earth Military Intelligence. They eliminated the Rilani because they were our strongest supporters. With the Rilani gone, humanity has no allies left in the Council. President Da-eun looked around the table at her advisors and friends. These were good people who had spent their lives building a better future for humanity. Now they faced the choice between justice and survival. What are our options? She asked. Minister Jae-yun opened her own data files. Diplomatically, we're finished. The Council has accepted the Korthak version of events. They've declared humanity a rogue species subject to economic blockade and territorial restrictions. Any human ship that leaves our controlled space will be attacked on sight. Militarily? The President asked. General Won Jin's expression was grim. We can't win a direct war against the entire Council. Their combined fleets outnumber us 10-1. Their industrial capacity is 50 times larger than ours. In a straight fight, we would be crushed within months. But President Da-eun sensed there was more. But they expect us to fight like other Council species, Won Jin continued. Large fleets in open battle, formal declarations of war, honorable combat between equals. They don't understand how humans fight when we're desperate. Colonel Min-Soo activated the wall display, showing star charts of the local galactic region. Our advantages are speed, adaptability, and the fact that they underestimate us. They think we're just another aggressive species that can be contained through superior force. They don't know about our real military capacity, Admiral Hyun-woo added. For 50 years, we've been building defensive systems in secret. The Council only knows about our patrol fleets and colony guards. They have no idea what we can really do. Dr. Taemin looked up from his data pad. There's something else. I've been analyzing the intercepted communications from the Council fleet. This wasn't just about eliminating the Rilani. There's a Phase 2 to their plan. What kind of Phase 2? President Da-eun asked. Complete human isolation followed by resource extraction, Taemin replied. They want to strip mine our colonies and force Earth into a reservation system. The Korthak and Zentari have already divided up our trade routes and manufacturing centers. The room fell silent as the full scope of the betrayal became clear. This was not about galactic security or preventing human aggression. This was about conquest disguised as peacekeeping. So our choices are surrender and slavery or fight and die, President Da-eun said slowly. There's a third option, General, Won Jin said. We show them what happens when they mistake mercy for weakness. Admiral Hyun-woo stood and walked to the star chart. The Council species have been at peace for so long, they've forgotten what real war looks like. They fight ritual, battles with agreed-upon rules. They don't understand total war. You're talking about becoming the monsters they claim we already are, President Da-eun said carefully. No, Colonel Min-Soo replied. We're talking about becoming the protectors the Rilani believed we could be. They died because they trusted in Council justice. We can't bring them back, but we can make sure their sacrifice means something. Dr. Taemin's scarred face showed fierce determination. Elder Nalthara's last words were about forgiveness and hope. She died believing that the truth would come out. If we surrender now, her death means nothing. The galaxy will remember her as a terrorist who died supporting human aggression. And if we fight? The president asked. Then we fight smart, General Wan Jin said. We don't try to conquer the galaxy. We don't become the empire they fear. We simply make the cost of their lies too high to bear. Minister Jae-yun brought up another display showing Earth's industrial capacity. Our wartime production capabilities are still classified. The Council thinks we're a small colonial power with limited resources. They don't know about the automated factories we built during the colony expansion. They don't know about our quantum A communication networks or our stealth technology. They expect us to beg for mercy or die gloriously in hopeless battle, Admiral Hyun-woo added. They don't expect us to disappear into the dark and strike where they're weakest. President Da-un walked to the window that looked out over the city. Millions of people went about their daily lives, unaware that their government was deciding between peace and war. They trusted her to make the right choice. The Rilani believed in us, she said finally. They saw something in humanity that even we didn't always see. They thought we could be better than our history. She turned back to face the room. They were right. We can be better. But first, we have to survive long enough to prove it. So we fight, General Wan Jin asked. We respond, President Da-un corrected. The Council has declared war on human civilization. They've murdered our allies and fabricated evidence to justify it. They've shown us exactly what their version of galactic justice means. She looked around the table at each face. When diplomacy fails, other methods become necessary. The galaxy is about to learn what humanity becomes when our friends are killed and our children are threatened. Colonel Minsu smiled grimly. What are your orders, Madam President? Activate the emergency production protocols, Da-un said. Recall all deep space exploration fleets and send a message to every human colony, every trading post, every ship. In space. What message? Asked Admiral Hyun-woo. President Da-yun's voice carried the weight of 80,000 Rilani voices that would never speak again. Tell them that the age of asking permission is over. The galaxy wanted to see human aggression. Now they're going to get it. Outside the window, Earth's lights twinkled peacefully in the gathering dusk. But in the depths of the planet, factories were already beginning to hum with the sound of war production. The sleeping giant was awakening, and its dreams were full of justice for the gentle beings who had believed in the better angels of human nature. The Council had wanted to eliminate the human threat. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous, human purpose. Ambassador Jin Ho stood before the Galactic Council one final time. The Great Chamber felt different now, colder somehow, despite the same soft lighting and peaceful decorations. The seats that had once held Elder Nalthara and the Rilani delegation remained empty, a silent reminder of what the Council's justice had cost. In his hands, Jin Ho carried a data crystal containing the complete evidence of the Council's lies. video recordings from Kepler Station showing the unprovoked attack, technical analysis proving the fabricated evidence, testimony from survivors who had watched their friends die for no crime except believing in peace. Speaker Mordain called the emergency session to order. Her ancient face showed no emotion as she looked down at Jin Ho from her elevated platform. Ambassador Jin Ho, you have requested this final hearing. State your purpose. Honored Speaker, I come before this council to present evidence of the greatest crime in galactic history, Jin Ho said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. The deliberate murder of 80,000 innocent beings based on fabricated charges and political conspiracy. Angry murmurs rose from several delegations. Commander Vextar of the Korthak Empire stood immediately, his massive frame radiating hostility. The human makes serious accusations without proof. This council has already determined the facts of the Kepler Station incident. Then let us examine those facts, Jin Ho replied calmly. He activated the central display system, showing the technical analysis that Dr. Taemin had prepared. The evidence presented against humanity was completely false. Every piece of supposed intelligence was fabricated using outdated information and computer simulation. The display showed side-by-side comparisons of the fake evidence and real human technology. The differences were obvious to anyone with technical knowledge. Manufacturing signatures that didn't match, ship designs that had never been built, resource records that contradicted basic physics. Trade Minister Kelnara of the Zentari Consortium rose gracefully from her seat. Even if some details were incorrect, the threat assessment remains valid. Human expansion was destabilizing established trade relationships. Was it? Jin Ho asked. He changed the display to show actual trade data from human colonies. Our partnerships with the Relani increased prosperity for everyone involved. Agricultural output rose by 300%. Manufacturing efficiency improved by 200%. Every species that traded with us benefited. The numbers were undeniable. Human Relani colonies had been economic successes that helped their neighbors, not threats that harmed them. Jin Ho continued, the real threat was not to galactic security. It was to the monopolies and power structures that have controlled this galaxy for centuries. We offered free cooperation and shared prosperity. Some in this chamber prefer conquest and enforced scarcity. Several smaller delegations shifted uncomfortably. These species had little power in the current council system and had often been exploited by larger empires. Furthermore, Jin Ho said, activating new sections of his evidence, we have intercepted communications proving that the attack on Kepler Station was planned months in advance. This was not a response to human aggression. This was premeditated genocide. The display showed decoded Korthak military communications discussing attack plans against human colonies. Zentari economic projections for dividing human trade routes. After the human problem is solved. Messages between council members coordinating their fabricated evidence. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Even species that had supported the sanctions against humanity seemed stunned by the evidence of deliberate conspiracy. Speaker Mordain raised her hand for silence. These are serious accusations, Ambassador. Do you have verification of these communications? Every piece of evidence has been verified by independent analysis, Jin-Ho replied. The quantum signatures are authentic. The translation algorithms are standard council protocols. The temporal markers confirm when these messages were sent. Commander Vextar's small eyes glittered with rage. The humans are skilled at deception. They could have fabricated these communications themselves. Could we have fabricated communications that were sent before the evidence against us was even presented? Jin-Ho asked. These messages discuss plans made weeks before your accusations in this chamber. Unless humans can travel backward in time, your explanation is impossible. Dr. Velthon, one of the surviving Rilani scientists, stood slowly from the observer section. His skin showed the deep blue of truth-telling, mixed with the gray of profound sadness. Speaker Mordain, I request permission to testify. Granted, the speaker replied. The elderly Rilani moved carefully to the testimony platform. His voice was weak but clear. I was present at Kepler Station during the attack. I saw Council forces deliberately target civilian evacuation ships. I watched Korthak's soldiers laugh as they murdered Rilani children. There was no resistance, no threat, no justification for what they did. His skin brightened with painful memory. Elder Nalthara died trying to protect a human communications officer. Her last words were about forgiveness and hope that the truth would emerge. She believed until her final breath that this council represented justice. Trade Minister Kelnara stood again, her translucent skin showing subtle patterns of dismissal. The testimony of a single traumatized survivor cannot outweigh the security concerns of the entire galaxy. What about the testimony of 2,000 survivors? Jin-Ho asked. What about video evidence? What about the physical proof that your accusations were lies? He activated another section of his presentation, showing footage from Kepler Station's security systems. The images were horrific but undeniable. Korthak soldiers shooting down medical transports. Zentari officers discussing how to divide the station's resources. Council forces ignoring surrender signals and white flags. The chamber fell into shocked silence as they watched peaceful families being slaughtered by their own security forces. Jin-Ho let the images speak for themselves before continuing. This council has taught humanity a valuable lesson about galactic civilization. You mistake our desire for peace as inability to defend ourselves. You confuse our respect for life with weakness in the face of evil. Speaker Mordain's ancient face remained expressionless. What response do you seek, Ambassador? Justice, Jin-Ho replied simply. Acknowledgement of the truth. Punishment for those responsible. Reparations for the families destroyed by your lies. Commander Vextar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. The humans demand justice. They are a threat to galactic order and always have been. The Kepler incident was regrettable, but necessary. Regrettable? Jin-Ho's diplomatic composure finally cracked. You murdered 80,000 innocent beings and call it regrettable? We eliminated a threat before it could spread, Vextar replied, without shame. The galaxy is safer without the human Rilani alliance. Trade Minister Kelnara nodded agreement. The economic disruption alone justified intervention. Some stability is worth more than individual lives. The cold calculation in their voices shocked even Jin Ho, who had spent years learning to understand alien perspectives. These beings felt no guilt about genocide as long as it served their political goals. "Then you admit it," Jin Ho said quietly. "You admit that the charges against humanity were false. You admit that you murdered the Rilani to maintain your power. You admit that this council's justice is a lie." "We admit nothing," Vextar growled. "We simply state reality. The strong rule, the weak obey, and threats are eliminated before they become dangerous." Jinho looked around the chamber at the faces watching him. Some showed shame at what their representatives had revealed. Others showed fear of what might come next. Most showed nothing at all, the blank expressions of beings who had learned not to care about injustice. "Speaker Mordain," Jinho said. "Formally, I request a vote on the evidence I have presented. Let this council formally acknowledge the truth of what happened at Kepler Station." The speaker was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice carried the weight of centuries. "The council has reviewed your evidence, Ambassador. We find it interesting but inconclusive. The matter of Kepler Station is considered closed." "Closed?" Jinho stared at her in disbelief. "You refuse to even acknowledge obvious facts?" "The council does not reopen settled matters," Speaker Mordain replied. "Furthermore, given humanity's continued aggressive behavior in demanding this hearing, we hereby formally expel the human species from the Galactic Council. All human vessels must leave Council space within 30 days or face destruction." The words hit Jinho like physical blows. They would not even pretend to care about justice. They would murder innocents and call it security, fabricate evidence, and call it truth, commit genocide and call it necessary. "Then you have taught us another lesson," Jinho said into the silence. "You have shown us exactly what your version of civilization means." He gathered his evidence files and turned toward the exit. At the chamber's threshold, he stopped and looked back one final time. The Rilani believed that reason could triumph over fear, that truth could overcome lies, that good beings could work together for a better galaxy, he said. "You murdered them for that belief. You proved that this council respects only force and recognizes only strength." General Wan Jin stood in the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains and watched humanity's greatest secret come to life. Around him, holographic displays showed factories across Earth and her colonies switching from peaceful production to instruments of war. The transformation was breathtaking in its speed and scope. "Factory Complex 7 reports full conversion complete," announced Major Sung Ho from his monitoring station. "Agricultural equipment production lines now manufacturing military hardware. Estimated output, 2,000 combat drones per day." "Colony shipyards?" Wan Jin asked. "All civilian construction halted," replied Captain Yunji. "Shipyards are now producing military vessels exclusively. The yards at Proxima Station alone will deliver 50 attack ships this week." Wan Jin nodded with grim satisfaction. For decades, humanity had prepared for this moment while hoping it would never come. Every civilian factory had been designed with dual-purpose capability. Every shipyard could switch from building cargo haulers to constructing warships. Every mining operation could produce military-grade materials on demand. Dr. Su Jin approached from the research section, her arms full of classified technical reports. General, the stealth technology is ready for full deployment. Our ships will be invisible to Council sensors until the moment they choose to attack. How invisible? Won Jin asked. Complete electromagnetic silence, Su Jin replied with pride. No heat signature, no energy readings, no gravitational disturbance. Council ships will not detect us until we open fire, and by then it will be too late. The quantum physicist activated a holographic display showing the new technology in action. We learned from studying Council sensor systems during our diplomatic missions. Their detection methods rely on outdated principles. They expect enemies to fight like they do, with big ships and obvious energy signatures. Admiral Hyan Wu entered the command center, still wearing his dress uniform from the failed diplomatic mission. His face was hard with determination. The Council gave us 30 days to leave their space. I suggest we use that time productively. What did you have in mind? Won Jin asked. Intelligence gathering, Hyunwoo replied. Our merchant ships are still trading in Council space. Our engineers are still working on Council projects. Our scientists are still participating in research programs. All of that stops now. But not before we collect every piece of useful information we can get. Colonel Min-Soo materialized from the shadows near the intelligence section. His ability to move unseen had earned him command of Earth's spy networks. We have assets throughout Council space, General. Traders who know every shipping route, engineers who understand their technology, diplomats who have mapped their political relationships. How many assets? Won Jin asked. Over 10,000 active operatives, Min-Soo replied. Some know they work for Earth intelligence. Others think they're just helpful humans sharing information. All of them are about to become very valuable. Dr. Su Jin pulled up another display showing communication networks throughout the galaxy. Our quantum entanglement communication system gives us a massive advantage. Council species still use traditional faster-than-light communications with built-in delays and vulnerabilities. Our forces can coordinate instantly across any distance. Won Jin studied the network diagrams with growing excitement. Meaning we can plan simultaneous attacks across multiple star systems with perfect timing. Exactly, Su Jin confirmed. While Council forces are still trying to send messages about the first attack, will already be hitting the second and third targets. Major Sung Ho looked up from his production monitors. General, we're getting reports from the outer colonies. They're requesting permission to begin Phase 2 of the preparation protocols. What's Phase 2? Admiral Hyunwoo asked. Won Jin smiled grimly. Weapons research that we've kept secret even from our own people. Projects so advanced that even our allies didn't know they existed. He activated a series of classified displays showing research facilities hidden throughout human space. Directed energy weapons that can cut through any known shield technology. Kinetic projectiles that travel at near-light speed. Biological warfare agents specifically designed to target Council species. Biological weapons? Hyunwoo looked uncomfortable. That crosses a line, General. They crossed the line first when they murdered children, Wan Jin replied coldly. But don't worry, Admiral. We won't use biological weapons unless they force us to. We have other methods that will be more than sufficient. Captain Yunji highlighted sections of the star charts around them. Our colony ships weren't just carrying farmers and engineers. Every civilian transport included military specialists and equipment disguised as farming tools. We have trained soldiers on every human world. How many soldiers? Wan Jin asked. 2 million active military personnel scattered across 47 colony worlds, Yunji replied. Another 8 million reserves who can be activated within hours, all equipped with weapons and equipment that Council forces have never seen. Colonel Min Su added more intelligence to the tactical picture. Council military doctrine is based on formal fleet battles between equivalent forces. They have no experience fighting guerrilla warfare or asymmetric conflicts. Their soldiers are trained for honor combat, not survival warfare. Dr. Su Jin brought up technical specifications for the new human weapons. Our military equipment is designed around human physical capabilities. Faster reaction times, better hand-eye coordination, superior spatial reasoning. Council species can't use our weapons effectively, even if they capture them. And our defensive capabilities? Admiral Hyun-woo wanted to know. Every human world has hidden defensive platforms, Wan Jin replied. Orbital weapons disguised as communication satellites, underground missile systems built into mining operations, shield generators hidden in civilian power plants. The scope of humanity's preparations was staggering. For 50 years, while publicly pursuing peace and cooperation, Earth's military had quietly prepared for the day when diplomacy would fail. Every colony, every trade mission, every cultural exchange had served dual purposes. The Council thinks we're a small colonial power with limited resources, Wan Jin continued. They base their assessment on our public fleet numbers and known industrial capacity. They have no idea what we've really built. Major Sung Ho highlighted production numbers on his displays. Current military output, 500 ships per week, 20,000 combat vehicles per day, 50,000 small arms per hour. At full wartime production, we can triple those numbers. Personnel? Wan Jin asked. Active military, 10 million trained soldiers, Captain Yunji reported. Reserves, 40 million civilians with basic military training. Potential conscription pool, 200 million adults capable of military service. Admiral Hyun-woo stared at the numbers in amazement. We have a larger military than most Council empires, and they don't even know it exists. That's the idea, Wan Jin replied. The Council expects us to fight their way, with big fleets in open battle. Instead, we're going to fight our way, with intelligence, adaptability, and overwhelming force applied at precisely the right moments. Dr. Su Jin activated a holographic battle simulation. Our strategic doctrine is based on rapid strikes against critical infrastructure. While Council forces mass for traditional battles, we destroy their supply lines, communication networks, and command centers. The simulation showed human forces appearing throughout Council space like ghosts, striking key targets and vanishing before enemy reinforcements could respond. Trade routes collapsed, military communications failed, economic centers burned. How long before they can organize an effective response? One Jin asked. Conservative estimate, 6 months, Colonel Minsu replied. They'll need time to realize what's happening, time to coordinate between species who barely trust each other, and time to adapt their tactics to fight an enemy unlike any they've faced before. 6 months is plenty of time to accomplish our objectives, Wan Jin said with satisfaction. Admiral Hyunwoo looked concerned. What exactly are our objectives, General? Are we planning to conquer the galaxy? Nothing so ambitious, Wan Jin replied. We're going to destroy the Council's ability to threaten innocent people. We're going to eliminate the military and economic power of those responsible for the Kepler massacre, and we're going to create a new balance of power that ensures something like this never happens again. He gestured to the star charts surrounding them. The galaxy has been controlled by a few powerful species for too long. They've grown comfortable with their monopolies and their ability to crush anyone who challenges them. We're going to change that. Through military force? Hyunwoo asked. Through military force applied with surgical precision, Wan Jin corrected. We're not going to occupy worlds or rule over other species. We're simply going to break the systems that allow evil to prosper. Dr. Su Jin brought up a final display showing communication intercepts from throughout Council space. General, we're detecting increased military activity around Korthak and Zentari systems. They're mobilizing their fleets. Expected timeline for their offensive against Earth? Wan Jin asked. 4 to 6 weeks, Colonel Minsu estimated. They're clearly planning to follow up their political victory with military action. Captain Boram checked her instruments one final time as the stealth ship Ghostwalker approached the Zentari financial hub at Meridian Station. Around her, 17 other human vessels moved through space like invisible predators. Their advanced cloaking systems making them undetectable to enemy sensors. All ships report ready, whispered Communications Officer Park from his station. The quantum communication system allowed perfect coordination without any electromagnetic signatures that could give away their position. Target confirmed, added Navigation Officer Kim. Meridian Station holds the primary quantum computers for all Zentari banking operations. Destroying it will cripple their economic control over 40 systems. Boram nodded grimly. This was the first strike in humanity's response to the Kepler massacre. 18 ships against the most heavily defended financial center in Council space. The odds seemed impossible, but that was exactly why it would work. Remember the mission, she said quietly to her crew. We're not here to kill innocent people. We're here to break the systems that allow evil to prosper. Target military installations and economic infrastructure only. Avoid civilian casualties whenever possible. Through the view screen, Meridian Station grew larger as they approached. The massive structure housed over 2 million Zentari and allied species, most of them financial workers and their families. But hidden within the civilian population were the quantum computers that controlled trade throughout this sector of the galaxy. Defensive positions identified, reported Weapons Officer Choi. 47 automated defense platforms, 12 patrol ships, and the orbital fortress Golden Prophet. They're not expecting trouble. Why should they? Boram replied. According to their intelligence, all human ships are still in our home systems, preparing for their invasion. They have no idea we can move this fast or stay this hidden. The Zentari had built their wealth through careful manipulation of trade routes and resource prices. They controlled which species could buy what goods and at what cost. Their banking systems determined who received development loans and who remained trapped in poverty. The massacre at Kepler Station had been partly motivated by fear that human Rilani cooperation would break their economic stranglehold. Beginning final approach, Kim announced. All ships maintaining perfect stealth. Enemy sensors show no detection. Boram activated the tactical display showing the positions of all human ships around the station. Each vessel had a specific target and a precise timeline. The entire operation would take exactly 12 minutes from start to finish. "This is Ghost Walker to all units," she transmitted through the quantum network. "Execute Operation Rilani's Justice in 3, 2, 1. Mark." 18 human ships suddenly materialized inside Meridian Station's defensive perimeter. The Zentari had never imagined that an enemy could penetrate so close without being detected. Their weapon systems were designed to engage threats approaching from outside, not ships that appeared among them like ghosts. The Ghost Walker fired its first shots at the quantum computer complex in the station's core. Human-designed plasma weapons cut through Zentari shields as if they didn't exist. 50 years of studying Council technology during peaceful trade had revealed every weakness in their defensive systems. "Direct hit on Target 1, Choi reported, with satisfaction. "The primary banking computer is gone. They've lost control of their currency exchange systems." Around the station, other human ships struck with equal precision. Defense platforms exploded in brilliant flashes as kinetic projectiles, traveling at near-light speed, tore them apart. The orbital fortress Golden Prophet found its weapons offline as electromagnetic pulse weapons fried its control systems. "Enemy patrol ships attempting to respond," Park announced. "They're requesting reinforcements from the home fleet." "Let them call," Boram replied. "By the time help arrives, we'll be long gone." The Zentari patrol ships moved to engage the human vessels, but their pilots had never faced enemies like this. Human ships moved with impossible speed and precision. Their pilots trained for three-dimensional combat in ways that the elegant Zentari had never imagined. Commander He Jin's fighter squadron swept through the defensive formations like a storm wind. Her pilots flew with the reflexes and spatial reasoning that only humans possessed, turning and diving in patterns that confused and scattered the enemy formations. "This is Falcon Leader." Hyajin's voice came through the quantum network. "Enemy fighters are breaking off. They can't match our maneuverability or reaction time." Boram watched her tactical display as human forces systematically dismantled the station's defenses. Not a single civilian area had been targeted, but every military installation and financial computer was being methodically destroyed. "Target 2 eliminated," reported the destroyer, Silent Thunder. "Secondary banking complex is dark. They've lost access to all trade route planning systems." "Target 3 down," added the cruiser Invisible Hand. "Communication arrays destroyed. They can't coordinate with other financial centers." Boram felt a cold satisfaction as she watched decades of Zentari economic control crumble in minutes. These were the same systems that had been used to strangle developing worlds and maintain artificial scarcity. The same networks that had planned to divide up human colonies after the threat was eliminated. "Captain," Weapons Officer Choi called urgently. "We're detecting massive data transfers from the station. They're trying to evacuate their financial records to backup systems." "Block them," Boram ordered. "Target the transmission arrays." The Ghost Walker adjusted its position and fired precisely targeted shots that severed the station's connection to the galactic data networks. 50 years of carefully accumulated financial records and trade secrets were trapped inside the dying. "Computers." "Transmission blocked," Choi confirmed. "All their economic data is contained in the systems we're destroying." "Captain," Park interrupted, "we're receiving a surrender signal from the station commander." Boram considered for a moment. The mission parameters were clear. Destroy the economic infrastructure, avoid civilian casualties, leave no doubt about human capabilities. "Acknowledge their surrender," she said finally. "Broadcast this message on all frequencies. This is the price of murdering innocents. The Zentari economic empire dies today, just as the Rilani children died at Kepler Station. Remember that Earth keeps its promises." The message went out on every communication channel, ensuring that the entire galaxy would know who was responsible and why. This was not random violence or conquest for its own sake. This was justice, delivered with surgical precision. "All primary targets destroyed," reported the task force coordinators. "Mission objectives achieved with 0 human casualties and minimal civilian impact." Boram checked the mission timeline. 11 minutes and 30 seconds since the first shot. Exactly on schedule. "All ships, begin withdrawal," she ordered. "Execute dispersal pattern 7. Rendezvous at the coordinates in your sealed orders." The human ships vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, their stealth systems rendering them invisible once again. Behind them, Meridian Station burned, but its civilian areas remained untouched. Only the instruments of economic oppression had been destroyed. As the Ghost Walker jumped to faster-than-light speed, Boram activated the long-range communication system. Similar attacks were taking place simultaneously throughout Council space, all coordinated through the quantum network that gave human forces their overwhelming advantage. "Strike Group 7 to command," she reported. "Meridian Station neutralized. Zentari economic control over this sector has been eliminated. No human casualties. Civilian areas unharmed. Mission accomplished." General Wan Jin's voice came back immediately, despite the vast distance. "Confirmed, Strike Group 7. Excellent work. Proceed to secondary objectives." Boram looked at her tactical officer. "What's the status of other operations?" "All strike. Groups reporting success," Kim replied, reading data from the quantum network. "The Korthak military depot at Skull Crater is gone. The Zentari trade hub at Crystal Falls has been destroyed. Enemy communication networks are collapsing throughout the combat zone. In 12 minutes, humanity had crippled the economic and military infrastructure of 2 major council empires. The careful systems that had maintained their power for centuries were burning, and their ability to threaten peaceful species was broken. "How are they responding?" Boram asked. "Panic. Park reported with grim satisfaction. Emergency communications across all Council frequencies. They're demanding to know how we penetrated their defenses so easily. Let them wonder, Boram replied. Fear is a tool, and we're going to use every advantage we have. The Ghost Walker continued through hyperspace toward its next target. Behind them, the galaxy was learning what happened when humanity's diplomacy failed. The Council had wanted to see human aggression. Now they were experiencing the difference between aggression and justice. Throughout Council space, the pattern repeated. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before enemy forces could respond. Trade. Routes collapsed. Military installations burned. Communication networks went dark, but civilian populations remained untouched. Schools and hospitals were carefully avoided. Residential areas were left unharmed. This was not conquest or revenge. Admiral Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel above the Council homeworld. The planet below had been the center of galactic government for 5 centuries, a symbol of peace and cooperation among the stars. Now it was surrounded by the wreckage of the once mighty Council security fleet. Sir, we're receiving surrender signals from the remaining Council ships, reported Lieutenant Kyung-hoon from the communications station. They're requesting terms for ceasefire. Any word from the planet's surface? Hyun-woo asked. Multiple transmissions, Kyung-hoon replied. The Korthak and Zentari delegates have been arrested by their own security forces. The remaining Council members are requesting immediate negotiations. 3 months had passed since humanity's response to the Kepler Station massacre began. In that time, the galaxy had learned what humans became when their friends were murdered, and their trust was betrayed. The careful balance of power that had maintained Council authority for centuries lay in ruins. "Patch me through to President Da-un," Hyun-woo ordered. The quantum communication system connected him instantly to Earth, where President Da-un waited in her office overlooking the capital. Behind her, the lights of the city twinkled peacefully, as if the galaxy were not in the middle of its greatest transformation in recorded history. "Admiral," the president said, "what's the situation?" "Total victory," Hyun-woo replied simply. "The Council's military forces have collapsed. Their economic systems are in chaos. The species that committed genocide at Kepler Station are begging for mercy from their own people." "Casualties?" Da-un asked. "Minimal on our side," Hyun-woo reported. "We lost fewer than 300 soldiers in the entire campaign. Enemy military casualties were heavy, but we maintained our commitment to protecting civilians. Independent observers confirmed that human forces caused less collateral damage than any major military campaign in galactic history." On the main view screen, the Council homeworld rotated slowly beneath them. The planet's surface showed no signs of bombardment or destruction. True to their principles, human forces had focused on military and economic targets while leaving population centers untouched. Dr. Taemin joined the conversation from his position as head of the Survivors Council, the organization representing those who had escaped the Kepler massacre. His scarred face still bore the marks of that terrible day, but his eyes held something that had been missing for months. Hope. "Admiral," he said. What about the surviving Rilani? Have we found them? All? Scattered refugee communities on 47 worlds, Hyunwoo confirmed. All under our protection now. Scholar Veltharion has agreed to speak for them in the peace negotiations. Peace negotiations? Da-Yun asked carefully. What kind of peace are we talking about? The kind that ensures this never happens again, Hyunwoo replied firmly. The old council system is finished. The species that controlled it through fear and corruption are no longer in power. What comes next depends on whether the galaxy learns from what happened. General Wan Jin's image appeared on a secondary screen transmitting from the Strategic Command Center on Earth. Madam President, our intelligence reports indicate complete breakdown of the old power structures. The Korthak Empire is in civil war. The Zentari Consortium has fractured into competing trade guilds. Smaller species are forming new alliances, based on mutual protection rather than submission to larger powers. Are we prepared to dictate terms? Da-Un asked. We are prepared to ensure justice, Wan Jin corrected. Our demands are simple and non-negotiable. Full acknowledgement of the truth about Kepler Station. War crimes trials for those responsible, reparations for the Rilani survivors, and a new galactic organization based on voluntary cooperation rather than enforced hierarchy. Scholar Veltharion spoke from the refugee fleet that had gathered in human space. The elderly Rilani's skin showed the deep blue of wisdom mixed with the silver of formal testimony. President Da-Un, my people support these terms. We do not seek revenge, only justice. We want to ensure that no other species suffers as we have suffered. What about those who oppose our terms? Da-Un asked. They are welcome to oppose them, Admiral Hyunwoo said with cold certainty. But they will do so without the military and economic power they use to oppress others. We have made sure of that. The transformation of galactic politics had been swift and decisive. Human forces had systematically dismantled the infrastructure that maintained council authority. Trade monopolies were broken. Military bases were destroyed. Communication networks were captured or eliminated. The species that had ruled through fear found themselves powerless to resist. What about reconstruction? Da-Un asked. We can't. Just leave the galaxy in chaos. We're not, General Wan Jin assured her. Human engineering teams are already helping smaller species build their own defense networks. Our trade missions are establishing direct relationships that bypass the old monopolistic systems. Dr. Sujin's technology sharing program is giving everyone access to the innovations that only the powerful used to possess. Dr. Sujin joined the conversation from her research facility. The response has been overwhelmingly positive, Madam President. Species that were oppressed under the old system are eager to participate in the new one. They've seen that human protection comes without demands for submission or tribute. And the Korthak and Zentari? Da-Yun asked. Facing justice, Colonel Min-Su reported from his intelligence station. Their own people have turned against the leaders who brought disaster upon them. War crimes tribunals are already beginning, on both homeworlds. The evidence of their conspiracy to commit genocide is overwhelming. Admiral Hyunwoo watched as shuttles from the Council homeworld approached his fleet. The delegations coming aboard included representatives from species that had never been allowed to speak in council sessions before. The galaxy's power structure was being rebuilt from the bottom up. Admiral, Lieutenant Kyung-hoon announced, "The first delegation is requesting permission to come aboard." "Grant it," Hyun-woo replied, "and patch their communications through to Earth. President Da-un should hear what they have to say." The delegation that entered the Indomitables conference room included beings from 12 different species. Some were familiar faces from the old council. Others were new representatives chosen by their people to negotiate a better future. Speaker Mordain, the ancient leader who had presided over the council's betrayal of humanity, was notably absent. Her species had chosen a younger representative, one who had opposed the conspiracy from the beginning. "President Da-un," the new speaker said through the communication link, "I am Speaker Talmiran. I come to offer the formal surrender of the old council system and to request negotiations for a new galactic organization." "What are your terms?" Da-un asked carefully. "We accept your terms completely," Talmiran replied without hesitation, full acknowledgement of the crimes committed at Kepler Station. "Justice for those responsible, reparations for the survivors, and a new system based on equality rather than dominance." "You accept everything we demand?" Da-un seemed surprised by the complete capitulation. "Madam President," Talmiran said, "you have shown us what happens when evil is allowed to flourish. Your forces could have conquered our worlds and enslaved our people. Instead, you protected civilians while eliminating only those systems that oppress the innocent. You have proven that power can be used for justice rather than domination." Scholar. Veltharian's skin brightened with hope. "This is what Elder Nalthara dreamed of, a galaxy where strength protects rather than exploits." "What about the practical details?" General Wan Jin asked. "How do we ensure the new system doesn't collapse into the same corruption?" "We have proposals," Talmiran replied, activating a holographic display. "Decentralized authority with no single species holding dominant power. Rotating leadership chosen by merit rather than military strength. Economic systems based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. And most importantly, a collective defense agreement to protect any member from aggression." Dr. Taemin leaned forward with interest. "Defense against whom?" "Against anyone who would recreate the old systems," Talmiran explained. "The new organization will exist to prevent the concentration of power that allowed the Kepler massacre to happen. No species will ever again have the ability to commit genocide and call it justice." President Da-un studied the proposals carefully. "These are ambitious goals. What makes you think they can work?" "Because humanity has shown us they can work," Talmiran replied. "You have the power to rule the galaxy, but you choose instead to create a system where rule is unnecessary. That is the difference between leadership and domination." Admiral Hyun-woo looked out at the ships surrounding the Council homeworld. Human vessels shared space with craft from dozens of species, all working together to build something better than what had existed before. "There's one more thing," he said quietly. "The memorial." "Memorial?" Talmiran asked. We're going to build a memorial at Kepler Station, Dr. Tayman explained. A place to remember the 80,000 Rilani who died because they believed in peace and friendship. Every species in the new organization will contribute to its construction. Scholar Veltharian's skin showed the warm gold of deep gratitude. Elder Nalthara would be pleased.